like you lost another one.
Welcome to Summer Showcase. I'm Michael Washington. We got a familiar face back with us after a couple weeks off. Bryce Lagow is back with us as well. Randy Schrader will be on in a little bit, and he is running just a little bit behind. And hopefully, in our comment section, we'll have our unofficial producer and stat corrector and Jamal with us as well. First and foremost, Bryce, welcome back to the show, man. And how you been, man?
I've been good. I would have been on last week, but an unfortunate pit stop at Chili's, I made sure that didn't happen. I got stuck there for a few hours at a ride, so that was quite annoying. But I've had a good week. I've had a good summer workouts going well, and started the season here in about a month. So excited for that as well, and I'm good to go.
Yeah, I mean, week 7. I believe it was week 7. I don't remember off the top of my head, and of course the app doesn't have it listed as such, but I think it was week 7. It is in the books. There were 7 games that played. Ironically enough, weirdly enough, there was 1 game on Saturday and then 6 on Sunday. So
Yeah.
it really split them up. But let's start with the first one. The Milano Seamen coming off of their bye week, they looked like they were in a hot streak. They were getting into that role. They took on Vierfar, the Enthroners, who were coming off their first win the week before, beating Prague. And, Robitaille and Jake Mangel looked like they had the connection rolling, and the Enthroners won this game 27-17. What were your thoughts on this game? Because it was an interesting game to me.
I thought it was Farivar's most complete game this season, despite some silly mistakes at the end with the botched punt. And but it also wasn't just Jack Mangle and Robitaille. It was also some of the homegrown guys getting in on it. Some of the team captain, the Hungarian receiver, kind of touchdown. And I thought Zach had a bit of a rough day as well. And the Seamen never really got off to anything they did a little bit towards the end, but yeah, at that point it was a little too late.
Yeah, Toth had 2 touchdowns, I think, for the Enthroners as well. So him and Mangel obviously had a connection. Robitaille didn't score, but I think he was like 7 for 117 or something like that on the day. He had a really, really good day overall. So the Americans showed out for the Enthroners this week, getting the victory for him. And I agree. I think this was probably one of the most complete games for the Enthroners, minus the late fourth quarter, almost giving this game away. They did what they could to try to give this game away, right? That's basically what happened.
Certainly.
But this is
they played great for 3.5 quarters, and then they decided, you know what? They tried to pull a Roslau and end the game early. So.
When it counted, they shut him down at the end of the game there for sure. And this has been the story for Milano for most of the year, right? Like, they're the only team I can think of outside of maybe Barcelona that doesn't have an A import at the wide receiver position. They have it at the running back spot, which is weird.
It shows.
For a lot of reasons. Yeah, and the defense hasn't really been at the top of the game. Like, Zach Blair has been basically carrying this defense, but outside of Blair, this defense has really been kind of non-existent, which is odd because their head coach is a defensive-minded coach. It just doesn't feel like that he's been able to get these guys to play underneath him. So I don't know if you can blame really the A import in the situation, because the offensive line's been kind of shoddy as well. So
yeah,
I think the A imports are just having too much put on their shoulders in this case, and it's not working.
You can find quality European running backs. You don't have to get an A import for that position. You don't. You can. It's best suited to get a
Yeah,
quarterback and a receiver. It just makes sense. I don't understand. It would have to be a Madre London type guy to really do that. And I say Madre London the year he went off. Like it would have to be a guy where he's so dominant that it overshadows any kind of thought process. Like, oh yeah, we have to get this guy.
yeah, and it's nothing against Jock Crawford because he's played really, really well. And it's not that he's played poorly enough. It's just this offensive line
Mm-hmm.
isn't good enough, and this passing game hasn't been good enough because of the offensive line
Mm-hmm.
to make up for a dominant running game that
Exactly.
can't do everything, right? Like Crawford, as good as he is 35, or I believe, and like that's old for a running back, and he's not able to take over games the way that we've seen with Glenn Tunga and Ryan. But a lot of that's also because of Ryan's offensive line. Like, so
Yeah.
I feel like Milano has kind of overall failed Zach a little bit, um, because they haven't really addressed this position, or the second A import on offense, to get him somebody that can come in there and be a difference maker, for 4 quarters, basically. And again, it's nothing against Crawford by any means because he has played really well. It's just that lacking that wide receiver and that connection, you don't have somebody who can take the lid off the defense.
There's a reason why there's these unspoken rules of roster construction in these European leagues, and it shows in Milan why you need these A imports in these certain spots to help a team really help an offense really move the ball down the field. And if you don't have that American receiver as a safety valve whenever you need them, you're in trouble.
Yeah, and it showed again. Crawford's playing really well. It's just it's not a dominant level performance to be able to make us forget that they don't have an American wide receiver. And that's again, it's not a knock on any of the Italian wide receivers there, not any of the homegrowns or any of the locals. None of that. It's not a knock on any of them. It's just that when you look at the way that this league is set up, the most successful teams have a dynamic wide receiver at the A import spot and a quarterback at the A import spot, and that's how you have to roll. Like it's the only way to really be successful in this league. Or of course, obviously having a very good offensive line helps too.
Yes. And the thing is about those positions is that you can, like I said earlier, you can get a quality European running back and you can consistently get quality European offensive line. That's why teams build rosters this way.
Yeah, for sure. Coming out of this game, there has been some news that has been broken, of course, this week. We'll talk about that tomorrow on Overtime with Zach Bronkhorst. He will be with me as well to discuss the state of what is happening over there as well. Moving on to the game that I thought was going to be a lot closer, the Paris Musketeers and the Madrid Bravos. Paris won this game 29-13. This was something that I think may have shocked some people, because there was, questions, especially when it comes to Randy, like who will be on in a little bit. He wasn't sure what Paris's identity was. And then during the game, I heard the announcer say that the Paris Musketeers defense is in the top 5 and
Hmm.
leading a lot of categories on defense. And then all of a sudden I saw and was actually paying attention more to this defense. And I can see why. I absolutely can see why. They shut this Madrid Bravos offense down and really put Steven Duncan under a lot of pressure. And he made some key mistakes late in this game.
No, yeah, absolutely. And Stephen Duncan, he made some key mistakes, but he also showed he made some really good throws. He showed flashes of the kind of quarterback he can be. It's just we saw this in Rotzlau as well. The key
Yeah.
mistakes let his team down.
One of the things with Steven Duncan that I've noticed this year, and I don't know if it's just because he's putting a lot of pressure on himself, or if it's just the way that the game planning has been happening between Warsklaw and Madrid, but it feels like when it comes against teams that are near the upper half of the league, your Parises, your Stuttgarts, it's it's too many mistakes that have cost them. Like the game against Stuttgart when he was with the Panthers was that game. The late interception or the late fumble against Vienna that ended up being his fault cost them that game when he was with the Panthers. Then obviously now here with Paris, he had another late fumble that was a turnover that returned for a fumble 6. That those are mistakes that stick out when you're a team that is supposed to be winning and you're losing the games against those top teams. Um, he looks great at times and looks fantastic against the middle to lower half of the leagues, but Vienna, Stuttgart, Paris, the guys that are all near the top, it's almost like he's either putting too much pressure on himself or they're over game planning with him, and I'm not sure which it is. I mean, what's your opinion on that?
I honestly don't know which one it is either, but I know for a fact that Steven Duncan, he belongs in this league.
Oh, for sure. Absolutely. 100%. I
He
completely
belongs in
agree.
this league for sure. And I
Yes.
really
Absolutely.
like to see him take that next step into
Yeah.
becoming the kind of quarterback that can win games against the best teams in the league because he has the pieces around him and he has the ability. We've seen the ability. It's
Yeah.
just the execution in key moments in the game.
Yeah. And again, I don't want to blame him for what happened in Warclaw. I do not think it was his fault that what happened with the losses in Warclaw. It's just that um, it's just been too many mistakes late, and it's translated from the Panthers to Madrid. It's not the reason he's not the reason why they've been losing games. It's just he hasn't made the key plays and the key moments
Exactly. Yep.
when the game is on the line, and that is something I would love to see him clean up, and I hope he gets a shot next year to come back to this league. I really do.
Certainly.
It makes you wonder though with Madrid how much different this team would look with Chris Helbig.
Yeah, I was thinking that
Like
as well.
because I mean I love Chris and he's a fantastic quarterback and not taking anything away from Steven by any means, but he had this team rolling before the injury. So
They might be up there with Stuttgart as one of the undefeated teams.
yeah, for sure. Um, moving on to the next game, I expected this game to be a little bit closer, but this to me is just how this Vienna Vikings team is. The Vikings won this game 34-9 against Berlin. First and foremost, Berlin's high-powered offense was completely out of whack most of the game. Sullivan could not find any room to throw. But this just goes to show how balanced this Vienna Vikings team is. And I've used that word a lot to describe this team over the course of the last 3 weeks. It's still a it's still a um, it's still a word that I'm going to probably beat to death over the course of the second half of this season, but it's just when they go out and have wins like this, it just really shows me how well this team is at every facet of the game. They are just so good and steady every week. It doesn't matter who they're playing.
Exactly, and I think they're up there with Stuttgart with that kind of team. They're truly one of the best organizations in the league, probably the most well run organization in the league, and it shows in their roster construction and the quality of players they're able to bring in to have this sort of well balanced, well oiled machine that they've been able to put out.
Yeah, and Reese Horn playing lights out. They have a rookie wide receiver in Torre who's having a sensational rookie. I would be shocked if he didn't win Rookie of the Year on offense, to be honest with you. If they don't give it to some quarterback, which I have an idea somebody might be in the running a little bit later on. We'll talk about if he's considered a rookie. I don't know if he's considered a rookie, but Torre though has been sensational for this Vienna team, and it's just like the rich just keep getting richer, and Vienna just keeps finding these guys.
Well, it's less them finding them and more them being attracted to this franchise. That's like I said, one of the most well run franchises. They respect their A imports. They don't hang guys out to dry. It's why people want to sign for Vienna.
Yeah, and I would think it's safe to say Ben Holmes belongs in the MVP talk.
Thank you. There we
He
go.
belongs in it. I know he's missed some games, so that definitely puts him at a disadvantage. But there's still a lot of football left being played. But what he's done in the games that he hasn't missed, I think that he does belong in this conversation now. You probably can remove Sullivan at this point, even though he did belong in the beginning of the year. It's just it hasn't been consistent enough that I think that he should be in the conversation anymore. But I will give credit where credit is due, and Ben has been playing lights out in this league. He's been playing lights out for Vienna. So I will definitely tip my cap to him and let him know that, and let everybody know that he does belong in the MVP talk.
And it's hard. It's hard for Jacob Sullivan because he's leading the league in passing yards and passing touchdowns right now.
Yeah.
But it's just when your team is so middle of the road, it's hard to really give it to a guy whose team is 4-5, 5-4, that kind of record.
Yeah, and again, it's not Sullivan. It hasn't been. It's just been Berlin as a whole hasn't been able to. They're very similar to what we've been seeing with certain teams that are trying to get over that hump. Right, they're right on the fringe of that. The middle tier, and then they can't get over that hump. Madrid looks like it's going to start getting in that point. Maybe that's a Stephen Duncan thing. Maybe it's just because it's Madrid being a expansion franchise of sorts, or whatever you want to call it. I mean, it's a scratch. It's a scratch, but they're kind of in that range as well. I would have said that about the Panthers, but this season has fallen apart. It has been like, first and foremost, I thought they were hasty with getting rid of Duncan. Then they fired Dave Christensen, who I just thought was a terrible idea to do. Did not like that move. They've gone through 1, 2, 3 quarterbacks, and
You guys, yeah.
they're going to be on their fourth, because I don't know if anybody knows, this will be news that we'll talk about next week, tomorrow night as well with Zach. But Matthew Vitelli stepping away from the team. He has some family things that he wants to take care of back at home here in the States. So the Panthers are now again going to be looking for another quarterback to come in and play for them. At this point, it's a nightmare. This game ended early because due to bad weather, but Stuttgart was beating up on them 40-0.
Exactly. And okay, let's be real. Was it really the bad weather?
It depends on the lightning and thunder in the area. I don't know. I thought it was very quickly decided that they were going to just suspend the game. It may have been a combination from league officials just being like this is 40-0. It's in the second half. Like, let's just axe it. I don't know.
Because the ref said it was the condition of the field on the broadcast, which I mean could make sense, but I don't know. I feel like as long as you're able to play, these people, you're a professional football team. Play 4 quarters.
Yeah, I'm not sure what it was. There may have been a chunk of the field that came up. It may have been the field was getting destroyed. I don't know. I wasn't in Stuttgart. It was I was watching the game, or I kind of tuned that one out a little bit because of the score. So I didn't end up watching the whole game across the board like I did some of the other ones. But I mean, I don't know. I don't know what's going on with the Panthers. It's too bad because, like Zachary Blair with Milano, AJ Whitland is having a sensational year. Should be in the talks for the defensive, player of the year.
Whitland cannot catch a break. He went from Leipzig, the team folded. Now he's in Wroclaw, the team's collapsing. It's he's been the bright spot for both teams, really.
Yeah, and I feel awful for him because the secondary has been trash for the Panthers for the last 2 years, and it's gotten worse this year. I didn't even know that was possible. I don't even know how it was possible, to be honest with you.
It shouldn't have been possible.
The firing of Dave Christensen obviously didn't help because this team has scored 17 points the last 2 weeks. So clearly it wasn't Christensen that was the problem. So I don't know, man. There's a lot to figure out from a team that made the playoffs last year to a team that's going to be in the bottom half of this league this year. It's really unfortunate to see for them. Luckily, their fans love them, and they'll keep coming out and showing out and supporting this team. But I don't know who they can even bring in at this point for quarterback. So
it would have to be like a guy from like the Mexican League, or I don't even know.
There's a couple free agents that come to mind when I'm thinking of it. Maybe there's somebody over there that's already over in Europe that they can maybe take a look at.
Yeah, perhaps. I was thinking Jimmy Johnson, Trevon Boykin, guys like that.
I mean, I was also thinking maybe Shelton Epler.
True.
I mean,
That was a good
Epler,
option for sure.
Epler is still out there and whatnot. I have a couple other guys that I'm thinking of, but we'll see what happens. Well, that will probably end up being a tomorrow thing because I'm sure the Panthers will announce what they're going to do because Vitelli announced it this morning, I believe. So make sure you tune in tomorrow at overtime for the viewers out there as well. Let's see. Randy has messaged me and said that he's going to be getting on here soon. So we will jump to the next game and then I'll get his quick thoughts on some of the recaps of the other ones. Munich and Helvetic. This game was 55-23. I think that score was actually closer than what the game was.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened here. Carlton Aiken got hurt. He did come back and play, which I thought was crazy. But I believe, if what I've heard or what I've been hearing, it's possible. I mean, there was nothing official today, but it's possible he's done for the year. So, yeah, kudos to him for being a tough guy. I mean, he's a leader. Let's be honest. Everything that I saw from him on the sidelines, he was an absolute leader.
He's definitely showed up for this team through the good and the bad, and seeing him because I actually bought the pay-per-view for this game.
Oh, did you?
Seeing him on the sidelines supporting his teammates, it's a good showing for him to do that. Yeah, he's going to get a contract just off of that, probably.
Well, I'm hoping that we'll see him back, next year and stuff as well. Mm-hmm. Joining us now is Randy, who has gotten home, got himself settled. Did you get a haircut, Randy? You look like you may.
I did.
Oh, look at this! Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, I was out with the family and just put the baby down. Let me check the monitor here. Yep, she's sleeping. So
Randy, you have nothing to be sorry about. Hey, handle the family first always. That's what we talk about here at Shady Sports.
I appreciate you being patient. How's everybody doing?
Good, man. Good. As you can see, Bryce has joined us tonight. Lagow.
I know. I made it, guys. So
let's go. What's up, Bryce?
He didn't.
When does your season start?
August 24th is our first game.
Okay.
That's week 0. That's week 0 for FBS.
We're going to Garden City, Kansas. Play Garden City Community College.
When do you start camp and all that?
First week of August.
Okay. Coming up. You ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
You all ready for some suicides and 110?
We've been doing that all summer, man.
Good.
It's
right. Ready to roll.
Brady's like, good. That's awesome.
I'm having flashbacks. Yeah.
Yeah. Randy, we had just finished up the Helvetic Munich game. We will go back so you can give us our quick thoughts on some of the other games real quick. We can start with the Saturday game. Just give us your quick thoughts with Milano and Vierfar, because obviously, I think that we understand that Milano has a lot of other issues than what's really being blamed in Italy right now. But Vierfar, Bryce and I mentioned that this might have been the most complete game that they've played all year, if not the most complete game they've played all year.
Yeah, like we said a couple weeks ago, how fun are they to cheer for? And they look like they can be in that tier of kind of the Prague, Milano, Barcelona, Helvetic, maybe compete and win a few games a year. I feel like they broke through the last couple of weeks, it's more entertaining for the league, and it's fun. It's fun watching them play. Milano, man, it just looked like the wheels fell off.
Yeah.
I don't know if the trip out to Hungary will be interesting. Are you talking with Zach tomorrow?
Yeah, Zach will be on tomorrow. He will be with us moving forward. Overtime will still be happening. So
yeah, it'll be interesting to hear his thoughts.
And as the team kind of breaks out with these, 2 wins, we've been hearing all season that they're probably not going to be back next year. They're going to be playing in the Hungarian league. What do you think a good end of season stretch from Fehérvár means for their future in the league?
I want to see him. I want to see him in the league. I want to see an Eastern European team represented. Yeah. At this point, I feel like they have more of a case to be there than Prague. Even when you turn on the games, like the stands in Prague, sometimes I feel like I can count on one hand how many people I see in the stands. Where Hungary, It's
all right, athletes forum. That was pretty rude.
You're on Randy time today, so I messed up today. I was the late one today, but yeah, I want to see them stay, and I feel like we've talked about this a couple weeks ago, but it just takes time, especially in countries where football is not as developed, like Germany, and so you got to be a little bit patient with these teams. So I don't obviously know their financial situation, but if they have the means to stay in the league, I'd love to see them still.
Yeah, I want to see VFR stay because I feel like that even with the Enthroners being near the bottom of the league the last couple of years, I feel like that we have seen steady improvement from them as the years have gone, as the season has gone on, and they have continued to just grow little by little. And honestly, when you are a country who doesn't have this established American football established, any type of improvement's good. So fingers crossed. I hope that they, get the funding that they can to stay in the league. I would love to see them stay there because I actually think, like you said, Randy, I think it's good for the league as well. Jamal is apparently on Bryce time. He is recovering from push-ups as well. He is with us, my unofficial producer in the comments.
We need proof of what's it called? Proof of life. We need proof of push-ups.
There we go.
It just takes a coach to recruit the right guys. Jamal, it does. You're absolutely
That's right. That's absolutely right.
Absolutely does.
Yeah, coaching is so important in this league.
Yes,
and I would love to see them stay in it. I look, I'm not saying they got a chance to compete for the championship in the next 3 years, but it'd be cool to just see how football in that country develops.
Yeah, and I'll even go one further than that, Jamal. Too. I think it takes the right GM to get the right coach in place as well. Yeah. Front office that is stable and supports these guys and is patient with them. Instead of just cutting the leash out every 35 seconds as well. Randy,
can I ask you a question, Michael? Sorry, I was just
by all means.
I was just going to ask and obviously I guess we'll hear tomorrow, but have you got the pulse on how Zach is doing? I mean, it seems kind of, I don't know.
So for those of you who are watching that don't know, I mean, I'm sure that if anybody follows the ELF, they already know that Zach Bronkhorst is no longer with Milano. He has been released. They have brought in I want to say he's a veteran over there who's played for the Italian league the last few years. I cannot remember his name. Salem?
Mm-hmm.
Salome. Played at Colorado Pueblo, if I remember, Colorado State Pueblo. I think he's 28. He's been over there for a while, but he graduated in 2018. Zach seems all right. He's going to come over and do the show with me tomorrow. I'll probably have a little more insight as to what's happening with his future. Probably won't be on air, but it will probably be, at least behind the scenes. But right now, everything looks like he's in good spirits. He's just going to keep grinding. And keep doing what he's been doing and what he loves, and that's to play football and talk football. So yeah, I mean, he seems to be okay. I think that we all know, if anybody's been paying attention to the league, we all know that it isn't really it really hasn't been Zach's fault. It's been what's been happening in Milano by any means. He hasn't, at times he hasn't played his best. I'm sure that he'd be the first one to tell you that. But overall, I think it's more than just the A imports in this case. So
a lot more.
Yeah, this is Einstein Salam, and then he said the wide receiver is a better ELF prospect. Yeah, I'm sure he is. And to be honest with you, we talked about Milan not having an A import at wide receiver when we discussed this game, which is really, really weird. Because it feels like you need to have one in this league to be successful.
Yeah, it makes sense if you have a just great offensive line and your only missing piece is having an A running back there, and you don't have a local guy or a European that you can bring in. But it's tough to win without a guy on the outside. Think about those American DBs. Nothing against the European receivers, and there's some really, really good ones, obviously, but though they're between 7 and 10 really good ones in the league, and it's just tough to match up if you're not one of those guys, one of those European guys against an American DB. And he's looking out there in a couple games throwing against, basically his number 2 target already out of the routes. So out of the concepts, because they're just blanketed. And that's tough to play quarterback like that.
Yeah. And nothing against Jock Crawford by any means. He's played well. He's just 35, and like I was telling Bryce before you came on, like he's not a guy who can take over a game like Glenn Tunga. So there's no pressure, especially with that offensive line. There's no pressure taken off that passing game. So
he definitely fit more into a rotational role.
Yeah, for sure. All right, I'm curious about your thoughts on this game, because you are been very, very vocal about how Paris doesn't have an identity. We, and I say we because I have been guilty of this as well, may have overlooked this team, that their identity is actually defensive and not offensive.
Yeah.
Like they lead a lot of categories on the defensive side of the ball here. And I thought this was a pretty convincing, this is my identity, Randy, game. I felt like they took it personally on you. Like somebody in Paris was like, we are going to tell Randy this is who we are, and took it out on Madrid, I felt like.
Yeah. I think looking back, like bird's eye view, what I saw was a Madrid team that's simply just a year away from where Paris is today. So, you saw a team that, it's just they did not play good offensively, just to put it very, very bluntly. Defensively, they're good enough to win a lot of games. They probably have a championship defense, Madrid, but they don't have the offensive firepower right now. They just don't have it figured out. And Paris, on the other hand, I thought we were texting about this watching the game, but you made such a good point, which is I think we overlooked the defense. And that defense is very, very good. They're very they play fast sideline to sideline, and they were tough to throw against too and run.
Yeah.
So that defense played awesome, and defense travels. That's kind of always the same, but you go down to Madrid, you play we were talking, last week on the show, Jamal, we were talking about the away stretch they have. If this defense can show up like they did against Madrid, they're going to have a chance to win like 4 out of 5 of these away games. But I would say when their defense is playing like that, like they have played all season, and then offense puts together a complete game, that's a championship caliber team. That's a team that can go beat Rhine Fire if they're maybe having a down game, or beat the Surge or beat Vienna, And so I'm close to maybe eating my words and putting them in the top 4 or 5, but yeah.
Well, I'm over here chuckling because you've been on the opposite end of the line, whereas Zach has been talking about Paris being the championship caliber team from the start and being on this train, and now it's kind of like he was onto something like way before all of us were.
It's almost like he's a professional quarterback.
Randy was a professional at one point in time too.
True.
I'm gonna give them. I want to see them play Rhine again in Rhine and in Dusseldorf. But hey, I feel like part of growing as a human is being open-minded.
Absolutely.
And I'm not trying to be wish-washy. I'm just going off of what I see, which is that defense is really good. And when the offense plays a complete game, they're hard to stop. Zach Edwards is, you can tell a couple times he drops back to pass and he's just like, I'm putting the team on my back.
Yeah.
Spins out of a tackle, steps up in the pocket, either makes a throw or runs for a first down. You're like, you can't stop that in this league.
And the other thing is when you take a look at this Paris team as a whole, I talk about balance a lot with Vienna, right? As far as balance was concerned, what you were saying earlier is if this defense plays how they played with that blanket style defense, they could probably compete with Vienna for being one of the most balanced teams just because of Zach Edwards alone, plus that run game. They have a solid offensive line. and they got weapons on the outside as well. That really kind of just, it feels like this team just moves forward almost anytime they have the ball, as long as Zach Edwards has time, because obviously that's been his entire career, is just, being David Card back there. So,
But how cool is it to see Chris Vombo, the running back for Paris? He was my running back in Stuttgart, so it was cool to see him, play the way that he did, especially bouncing back. This is the most Chris thing to do, is hurdle somebody, and that was awesome. And then he puts the ball on the ground. I'm like, oh, but he loves hurdling people, so he's always going to give you one good hurdle a game. I remember one time we were playing Warclaw, and he hurdled somebody. I don't even know if they touched him. Runs down the sideline. A couple plays later, he gets same situation. He tries to hurdle. Dude doesn't even move, and he got hit in a sensitive area. So he just loves hurdling. But he is one of the most athletic kids I've played with over there, Europeans. He's just fun to watch, and I hope he gets a little more playing time. But we'll see.
It was nice for them to see them against Madrid, because this Madrid defense was the defense that we were talking about as possibly being a difference maker. Randy, I got to pose a question to you too, because we won't spend a ton of time on the next two games because they really weren't close. But Steven Duncan from Madrid feels like against the top half of the league, or the top half of the teams that are hovering around the top half, he kind of struggles. And I don't know if it's too much pressure on himself or if it's just the game plan, where they are just like, Steven, you're going to go in and we're going to put it on you. Bryce and I discussed it. We think he belongs in this league, but it feels like a majority of his, I don't want to say poor play, but I'm going to say poor play, comes late in games against teams that are in the top half of the league. What do you think it is? Do you think it's just because he's an import quarterback, or do you think he's putting too much pressure on himself as well?
I think that it's probably a little bit of both. And the reason I say that, just watching the game, so from a quarterback's perspective, Paris brought a lot of pressure. Mm-hmm. There were a lot of zero blitzes. What that means is you're playing basically man coverage with no safety help. But basically, there's going to be they're going to try and what's called like plus one you while rushing. So that means trying to bring more than you can block. And he's not the most mobile guy. I think that Paris, that was very obviously their game plan, especially when they got in the third down. They were bringing pressure on Steven Duncan. So what you got to do from an offensive perspective, I wasn't the most mobile guy, but you can do a couple things. One is some quick rubs, pick routes, that sort of stuff. Just ball comes out of your hand quick, but you're playing some of those man concepts, man beaters. Then you also need to roll the pocket a little bit, change the launch point, whether we're full sprint or half sprint, whatever it is, but just buy yourself that extra second. Because, man, I used to love when I saw cover zero, because I knew like they're screwed. Like they make a mistake and they're screwed, you know? And so that's what it just seemed a little bit, let's just drop back and kind of throw this thing. There wasn't a ton of creativity, I thought, in the routes that I was watching.
It seemed like there was no imagination from the offense. There was, okay, if you're having trouble protecting the quarterback, the best thing to do in my eyes is a slide protection, West Coast style passing game, get the ball out quick. It seemed like they were just, as you said, like let them drop back and try and make a play when that's not his game. He's not going to be a Zach Edwards making 50 guys miss every play. He's Steven Duncan. He can make really good throws, but he's not that kind of quarterback.
And when they took shots, they simply didn't connect. Yeah. You saw a couple times where they're taking shots down the sideline, they just weren't hitting them. And you have to hit about 50% of those when you play against a team that's going to pressure like that. And they didn't. So they just didn't play their best game. I don't know if he's putting too much pressure on himself. It just looks like when you get behind in a game, they start pressing a little bit. And it's like, kind of let the game come to you and go back to some really simple stuff that gets the ball out of your hands quick. But that's also on the coaches. And I felt like they didn't do that.
Yeah. And it kind of happened with the Panthers as well. When he was with the Panthers, Jamal asked the question, does he need to get rhythm early to have success? And honestly, I'm going to say yes. I feel like Duncan I think he needs the confidence builders because, but then again, though, I'm not sure, though, because late in the games against Vienna and Stuttgart when he was with the Panthers, it was key turnovers late. It was the pressure because, like you said, Steven doesn't move very well. And then in this game with Madrid, against Paris, this game was close late in the game, and there was a key fumble that led to a fumble 6 that kind of opened this up a little bit. So I think me and Bryce both said earlier that Duncan belongs in this league. We hope that he can get over this hump because we think that if he can get over that and clean that up, that he is a really good high-end quarterback for this league. It's just he's got to limit those mistakes. And as far as early to be in rhythm, I'm not sure. It feels like he needs to be in rhythm later in the game. So maybe going back to the basics in the fourth quarter to kind of get him so he can calm himself down. I almost wonder if it's just too much pressure on himself. That's how I feel like he plays.
I also think he hasn't been in a good situation. Like it feels like the coaches aren't using him correctly. He's more like I said, he's not a Zach Edwards. He's more similar to a guy like Jadrian Clark. Like he's a guy who's gonna stand in the pocket and make throws, and he's. But that's also not exactly the most. Obviously, Jaden Clark's like one of the best quarterbacks in the league, but it's not the most popular style of quarterback in the league. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and I think the other thing is too is, it's just more like I don't want to seem like we're beating up on Steven Duncan by any means because it's not all his fault. Like it's a team sport and it goes across the board. It's just I feel like that there's some. It's the mental, like you always talk about take care of your upstairs, right? And like Randy, you played quarterback, and I can tell you right now as a center that if I made a mistake, it ate me alive, and I had to get over the mental side of things. I know we always hear quarterbacks need to have a short memory, but realistically speaking, not every quarterback's built the same. So it's literally I just feel like it's a mental thing for him to stop putting that pressure on himself, especially late in games if they are trailing. Because Stuttgart, Vienna, in this game with Paris, they were all trailing when he made key mistakes.
Yeah, and I think he also has to realize sometimes at quarterback, it's the whole picture, right? And you're playing with one of the best defenses in the league, honestly, right? I mean, they're probably one of the best defenses in the league. They allowed 13 points in the game, right? So against Paris. So we're talking about how good Paris is, and really, I mean, their defense put a lot, and special teams put a lot of points on the board. So I just think at quarterback, sometimes you got to realize that. Say, I don't need to win it on this drive. We got 60 minutes of ball. I'm gonna get 12 possessions here, and realistically, with the team we have, I need to score on 4 of them, right? And just we don't need to press here. That's what I think. I think also when you saw late in the game, it was just all those hits. The pressure was getting to him late in the game when he tried to hit. It was the 4th down. He overshot it to the end zone. I mean, they're still in that game. If they score a touchdown there, that guy's open. So it just looked like Paris had a good game plan, which was get after him early and often. And whether it was Duncan not making checks at the line or the coaching staff, but you got to have I hope that going forward they kind of have a plan for that, because if I'm playing against Madrid, that's going to be my defensive game plan until they can stop it.
Yeah. All right. We won't spend a ton of time on these next 2 games. Vienna, Berlin didn't end up being the way that we expected it to. I talked about balance the last few weeks. I told Bryce he's going to get sick and tired of hearing the word balance when it comes to Vienna, but honestly, they are the most balanced team, in my opinion, in this league. And then obviously the Stuttgart Warclaw game. I mean, the Panthers, you talked about the wheels falling off for Milano. I feel like the season has just fallen apart for the Panthers. Also, Randy, I don't know if you heard, Matthew Vitelli is stepping away. He is coming back to the States to focus on family. Apparently his family needs him. So the Panthers are going to be looking for yet another quarterback moving forward. So I'm sure we'll hear an official thing on that tomorrow. But
what's Zach up to?
Well, he was one of the guys I was thinking of, that hopefully maybe they'll reach out to Bronkhorst and maybe he'll get over there into Warskala. It's just I think this Panthers organization, some of the front office decisions that were made, like Dave Christensen getting let go, definitely I thought was not the right move. Steven Duncan being let go after, what was it, week 3 was not the right decision. And it just doesn't seem like it's improved. So this franchise really right this point is going to figure out what they want to do for the rest of the season. Are they going to go out there and try to make a late push and play spoiler and be like, we deserve to be here? Or I think a lot of who they bring in at quarterback may be telling for that personally. But this offense has scored 17 points in the last 2 games, so it has not been pretty by any means. And Jamal says, Randy, you're on the way to go play for the Panthers. So,
yeah. What's their schedule like?
I mean, let's see. Next week they are at home against Vierfar, so I mean they could get back on the right track there. But with the Enthroners playing the way that they are,
that's not a that's not a shoo-in. That's a game.
That's a game now, especially with looking at it from there. But Stuttgart, Vienna, do you have any comments on any of them? I mean, obviously, Berlin appears to be out of it with the loss, so we don't need to spend a ton of time on this. It's just any comments on those 2 teams specifically because of how good they are?
They're really good. That's my comments. I think they're also like in all reality, they're very, very complete teams. To be honest, I think there's probably some questions still about how good Rhein Fire's passing game is this year. Not that they don't have the players, they do, but have we seen the passing game break through, or is it all Glenn Tunga? And at what point, if a team stops the run, do we feel confident about them, winning a game, throwing the football? Whereas I feel like Stuttgart and Vienna, those are very complete teams. And I always talk about, the big 4. And, I feel like at any given time, there's probably 4 teams that realistically have a shot in this league, just with the parity and how it works out. But for me, it's Rhein, Paris now, and then Stuttgart and Vienna. And Vienna and Stuttgart are I feel like the most complete teams out of those 4, for sure.
Jamal said that he believes the ELF deadline for big signings is tomorrow. So obviously there's going to be some decisions being made, moving forward. So as well. All right. We were on Helvetic and Munich. What were your thoughts on this one? Obviously Munich never really felt like that they were in trouble. The score was a lot closer than it was. Speaking of big signings, and Jamal, you might be able to correct me if I'm wrong on this since you're our official producer. I believe Carlton Aiken is injured and might be out for the year. Haven't seen anything officially yet. Left knee, but he came back into this game. I don't know how, but came back into this game and he threw a late touchdown, I believe, if I'm correct. And it just, I mean, what can you say about this one? Because Munich definitely looked like the team that everybody had for hype, and now, again, it comes back on the heels of Helvetic, though.
You go ahead, Bryce. I've been talking too much.
Well, we're just trying to catch you up. That's all.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
To be 100% honest, he completely cut out for me, so I have no idea what he asked me.
Well, it's fine. It's not a big deal.
So I was waiting on you to answer so I could get a real impression of what to say.
Jamal did say it was correct, but it doesn't appear it will be for the year. So that's good news, at least, from that aspect. So that's awesome news.
He really pulled a Byron Leftwich for all those who are old school college football fans.
Hey, broken ankle.
There you go.
Yeah, I thought it was like a sprained ankle type situation, but I don't know. It's hard to see. But that game was interesting, right? I mean, this was a game where I don't know, watching it, if I'm feeling that good, if I'm Munich. Like, I mean, you're
not
watching
late
it.
anyways.
No, well, and not for me, like not the first quarter either. I mean, Carlton Aiken gets hurt, and they kind of, they didn't put it away. Yeah, there we go.
that was the bet. They didn't cover. I mean,
they didn't cover even with a
You gotta be a sick individual to bet on the sport.
Well, what was I thought the spread was like 40 something. This was 32, wasn't it? Like,
I think the spread was 30, right?
Oh, was it 30? Okay, yes. They just barely didn't cover it. Oh man, Jamal.
Didn't we say the difference? Oh, the difference of the win and loss. I thought the difference of the points. So you had 2 push-ups or something.
Oh, you were going based off the difference. Oh, I bet you that's gonna. Oh man, Jamal, did you hear that? He thought it was the difference on the spread, not the.
Oh, the spread was 14.
Oh boy.
Oh, yeah, that was.
That's rough.
Yeah, that's rough.
Yeah, Jamal, come on, man. You took that? Oh.
His bias showed up. Okay?
Hey, if Carlton Aiken didn't get hurt, I think it would have been a closer game for sure. I mean, they
I
didn't.
agree.
Munich did not play their best game, and they got to put some things together to make a late run here. I don't feel that good about them. How do you guys feel?
I like their schedule. That's about it, though.
I do as well. I like their schedule, and I think that this offense has potential to really, like we said, like we had Chad Jeffries, Tamio Oyewo, like they have guys.
Yes.
It's just a matter of them putting it together.
Yeah. Oyewo is a dog, man. The guy is straight up a stud. I think he's one of the best European running backs. He's one of my favorite to watch. That is for sure. If you wanted to do 30 push-ups to offset, I wouldn't mind. He said.
Oyewo is one of my favorite runners because of the way he runs too. He can tell he's from rugby. He runs he runs like a rugby player. He's just full steam ahead.
Yeah, no doubt, for sure. He's looking to run people over. The next game was the Rhine Fire beating Frankfurt 48-13. This game was close for probably maybe a quarter and a half, almost 2 quarters, maybe. I think halftime might have been somewhat close. Yeah, it was 12-4. It was 14-12 Rhine at the half, but the second half was just all Rhine. I mean, Rhine is catching stride at a time where I don't think anybody in the league wants to see them catching stride by any means. Thoughts on this one? Because there's really not much for me to say here. So,
if a UFL team doesn't at least give Glenn Tunga a training camp spot next week, I'm going to be pissed. The guy has been one of the best running backs in Europe. He would be a good signing, not only for his potential play, but also because he's a British running back coming over. It's a good media signing too. I don't understand why a team hasn't done it yet.
I wish I knew.
Yeah.
I mean, with today's running back game, you use multiple running backs. The guy just needs a shot.
How old is he?
28. He's 28.
He's a little older. That's the main issue.
He's right there on that cusp. That's the problem.
That's why.
Even just as like a body in camp, I'm pissed.
But I'm going to counter this that I don't think a lot of people have realized or have thought of. He's playing in Europe.
Yeah.
You got to remember, they don't practice every day in Europe. I don't think the mileage is a 28-year-old mileage, though.
He also started late.
You know what I mean? Like, I don't think it's a 28-year-old mileage.
He started he hasn't been a professional for as long as people think. He also hasn't been taking the hits that people in the U.S. has been taking for their whole career. So I think it's possible.
Yeah, nor do they want to. Yeah, I don't think anybody wants to practice. Yeah, but I mean, Glenn did think about retirement 2 years ago, so there is a possibility that he just might be happy where he's at and playing when he can and whatnot. But I love Glenn Tunga, so I'd love to see him just keep going for as long as he wants. Because if he's on my screen, I'm a happy camper. Let's just put it that way. So
I don't know if you guys saw. There's a little off topic, but the ELF post today about kind of the stats and I thought that was interesting because, Glenn Tunga's on there, and then I forgot about Madre. I mean,
Madre, yeah.
He had 2,000 yards in 9 games or something.
Ridiculous.
And still on that top 5 list.
Numbers.
Crazy.
Yeah. Good old Madre London. I also saw another thing that I want to bring up here in a little bit. I'm going to have to find it real quick, but maybe while you guys are talking about this next game, the last game to end it was my game of the week. Hamburg showed up, but Isaiah Weed. I've become a fan. We talked about being open-minded. We talked about not being wishy-washy. Isaiah Weed, to me, is doing what Paris is doing for you, Randy. Like, Cologne, man, another victory, 32-25 in this one. Going back to Madre London right quick, 9 games for 22 touchdowns in 2009 or whatever.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah, that's crazy. What are your thoughts on this one? Because I tell you, man, this game was really, really good for me. And Hamburg put on a show in the 4th to make this close.
Well, Nasir Streeter had one of the best returns of the season. One of the best that I've seen in ELF. Period. He took He took it to the house, made a bunch of guys miss. I did the math. He ran 140 yards total, just zigzagging across the field. And no, that was a heck of a play by him. But also, Isaiah Weed, he's had a good year for Cologne, and I would be a little surprised if there's not interest from teams who may lose a quarterback, the interest from teams who are towards the upper half of the league in him for next season.
Yeah, I agree. He is a scrappy, dynamic player. Does he put the ball in harm's way occasionally? Sure. But I feel like with Cologne, you kind of have to, to give yourself a chance. And man, he's fun to watch, though. I mean, some of the throws he makes, especially on the move, is incredible. So I hope, like you're saying, Bryce, that he gets a chance to either that he stays in Cologne and they put a better team around him, or that he gets to kind of sign with one of the more upper echelon teams and see how he can do. Like, can you imagine maybe him on Madrid or something?
Yeah. This is the guy who played, D3 college ball, played at Minot State, played and he didn't start for a while. He only played 1.5 years of college ball. And then he went to Serbia. He played football in Serbia for his first 2 years as a pro. Then he went to the second-tier German football league. And then the year after he finishes top of the GFL2 and all the stats, he goes into the ELF and he has a solid season. His rise has been somewhat meteoric in European football, and it's fun to see.
Yeah, and good point by Jamal too. Shout out to Cologne and Throners, what he said, sticking with their QBs throughout the year.
Yes,
thanks.
For sure, and considering you see all the short leashes that we've seen as well. I don't know how well you guys are as far as the X League is concerned in Japan.
I'm familiar.
I don't know. You're familiar with it? Okay, I don't know how familiar you are, Randy, or not, but
I follow Aaron. That's about it.
Inside Sport Japan released their top 10 global gridiron teams. Okay. I'm going to mention some here. So the Fundadores from the LFA came in at number 10.
Okay.
Stuttgart came in at number 9.
This list is already messed up.
Nojima Sagamihara Rise came in at 8. The Rhine Fire came in at 7.
Wrong.
The Vienna Vikings came in at 6. And this is the one that's really interesting to me. I'm very curious about your guys' thoughts on this one. The Potsdam Royals of the GFL came in at 5. The Panasonic Impulse from the X League came in at 4. The Obic Seagulls from the X League came in at 3. The Cadios from the LFA came in at 2.
Oh boy.
And then Fujitsu Frontiers from the X League came in at 1.
So obviously there's X League bias. Fujitsu is legitimately one of the best teams, non-NFL, CFL, UFL teams in the world. They're a very good team, very good organization, gets some very good foreign talent as well. They should be in the top 10. But that's probably it for the Japanese teams.
Well, I mean, Jamal said Potsdam would beat the Thunder, but they are not better than the top 3 teams in the ELF. That was the one that was surprising me the most out of all of this as well. And I will say that the reason I bring that up is because the LFA retweeted it and tagged the ELF and the X League in it and said, let's make something happen globally. So that would be really, really fun as well. To be honest with you as well, Jamal, I don't think the Cadios would I don't think they would beat Rhine or Vienna. I think they might be able to beat Stuttgart, but I don't know. Stuttgart's playing pretty well, so it's hard to.
Do they have all their import spots?
Cadios?
Yeah.
Well, right now they don't, because Malik Stanley's playing in the ELF, but
yeah. But will they have? Well, are they able to play with? Is it Mexican rules or LFA rules, or is it ELF?
Well, they both do. ELF and LFA both play NFL style rules as far as the rule book is concerned. I don't know what the imports are.
I'm pretty sure
I
the
feel
import,
like the LFA has more American imports.
They definitely do. There's less rules in Mexico, man.
Yeah.
There's-
Yeah.
I need to ask. I thought it was maybe, is it 8 or 16 that you can have? It's a lot compared
Yeah.
with ELF.
I thought it was 8.
Yeah.
8, yeah.
And I will say Jalen Henderson has looked fantastic for Potsdam. I absolutely agree. Hi, Caroline. What's the
Do you know the import rule?
There isn't for Americans.
Yeah, there's no import rule in
Pretty sure
LFA.
Sean said there's not.
If there's no import rules, I'd use the cartel money to get the Dallas Cowboys down there.
Yeah, right.
I will say there is a lot of
I thought it
Americans
was
on those teams.
8 or
but
16, but
there is a lot of Americans on those teams. So.
I can confirm.
all right, we're gonna get confirmation from Shelton.
And shout out to her business as well, Randy. Go ahead.
That's right. Yeah.
Randy, Jamal wants to know if Caroline has seen his push-ups or not. I don't.
Yeah, Jamal wants to know if he did. Where are these push-ups at?
Well, what did you pick that he didn't?
He had Helvetic covering 14, the spread of 14. They lost by
But
32.
Michael picked Paris and you didn't.
Yeah, I know. All right.
Oh, look at that! Hey, I'll take it. I'll take that for sure.
Michael, I thought of you during that game.
Oh, hey, I appreciate that.
Randy picked wrong.
Randy chose to completely ignore that part when he was texting me during the game too. Like,
Oh yeah, I did. You're right.
he wasn't like, yeah, he didn't bring it up once. He. All right, we're gonna take a quick commercial break from our sponsor, and then when we come back, we'll do everybody's favorite, pick'ems, because there's 8 games on the slate next week, and there's a lot of movement with some news coming out next week, or not next week. Well, I guess it'll be next week I don't know. I'm talking out my ass, but yes. Anyways, tomorrow there should be plenty of news, changing some of the overall team dynamics moving forward.
This is Current. It's the card my parents used to pay me for mowing the lawn, running errands, and doing well in school.
Wow.
This is the card I used when we got the idea to make our own clothes. And we spread the word, drove downtown, and sold everything we made. This is the card I use to do the things that really matter. This is Current. Visit current.com and download the app for free today.
Do it. Just do it. Download it. Just do it.
Jamal, I saw those push-ups. I'm on X. I just retweeted something and followed you back. I haven't retweeted anything, I think, ever. So the first retweet.
Wow.
Oh, look at that. Look at that. And I'm going to retweet you in the process as well. So
I'll get you Jamal as well. I'll retweet you as well.
Well, I retweeted Randy because Randy, I don't think even knows what X was up until now. So as well. Actually, what I wanted to say was go sign up for Current and then go hit up Randy's wife's business and go buy some bags as well. Use your Current card.
Use Current to buy it.
That's what I mean. Use
There we
Current to
go.
buy it. Yeah. And yeah. See, I got this. I know what I'm doing. All right. The first game, which I think most people would have thought was a blowout preseason, is now looking like it might go in favor of one way or the other. The VRFR Enthroners with Mangel and Robitaille. Robitaille had another big game last week. Toth had 2 touchdowns or Toth, I think it's actually pronounced, for the Enthroners. Randy, well, we'll start with Bryce first because Bryce hasn't done a lot of talking. So he's a man of few words, but they are impactful when he talks, I promise.
Oh, I appreciate that.
The Enthroners are taking on the Panthers, and it sounds like the Panthers are going to have a new quarterback. What are your thoughts on this one?
It's hard to pick against Farivar. It really is. Coming off of back-to-back wins and Rotslau in the place that they are, I think that Farivar will get it done.
The VRFR will get it done. I mean, I can't argue with that one per se. Bryce, what's your score prediction in this one?
Let's go 24-10, Theravar. I don't see Wroclaw scoring much.
Ouch, that hurts. Randy, how about for you in this one, man?
This one is very tough. This is a very, very tough one, especially with how Wroclaw played against Prague just a few weeks ago.
Just had to bring that up. Thank you. I appreciate that.
I want to say Wroclaw. Don't know why. This is going to come back to bite me. I'm going to go Wroclaw. I'm going to go Wroclaw 17, VFR 10.
Ooh.
Low scoring game.
Low scoring affair.
Well, I'm glad that you are excited about Wroclaw. I am not, and I'm taking VFR 22-6.
Wow.
Look, the head coach position is not worked out. They've scored 17 points in 2 weeks, and those 17 all came against Prague. The Wetland is so great as he is, he's a sitting duck on that defense because the secondary is still god awful and terrible. And this offense is going to their fourth quarterback, kind of on a whim here, late in the week. I don't even know if they had a guy in mind. I don't even know if there's a guy there. I don't even know if they even have a quarterback on roster. I'm not even going to lie to you. So you're on mute, Randy. You got yourself muted, Randy. Yeah, you're muted. I don't know what you did.
Here we go.
I'm muted. I muted myself. My wife was in the background washing dishes or something, so I was trying to not subject her away that. So now you're making me read. I think I might have to go VFR. They haven't signed anybody yet. Can we?
No, there's nothing officially announced yet.
And tomorrow's the deadline.
Well, I'm sure we'll hear it tomorrow, but there's nothing at this point in time yet. I don't even know if they have anybody there because Matty Ice posted that this morning. So it's not even like it was posted yesterday. It was posted this morning. So
give me VFR.
What are you changing the score for?
24-10.
Hey, twins.
Hey.
Oh, you did 24-10?
Yeah, he did 24-10. Yeah.
25-6.
No, here we go.
So he's gonna take 1 point over you, and then take my score for.
Yeah,
I don't even know what's gonna happen with that. All right, a game that I don't think a lot of people are going to watch. The Prague Lions traveled to Vienna. Do you have? Don't all talk at once, guys. Like Bryce.
Vienna's gonna win by 40.
Is it 0-40? What you're going to go with?
Maybe not exactly 0-40. Let's go. Let's give Prague 3, and let's go Vienna 47.
Okay.
Let's do that. That sounds good to me, guys.
All right. Yeah. Randy?
51-6, Vienna.
Ooh.
Okay, I'm going to interrupt you. Mexico is allowed 16.
Okay.
Wow. 16 imports. That is not.
And you still could pay half of the Dallas Cowboys.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. Speaking of the Dallas Cowboys, shout out to Michael Gallup, who retired today, by the way.
No way! I didn't know that.
Yep, he retired. He was with the Raiders, but he retired today. So
Cowboys legend.
He was.
Is he the one that caused all the drama?
That's Des Bryant.
No. Kelsey's girlfriend.
Michael Parsons. He's defensive end.
Parsons. Sorry.
Lions and Vikings in this one. I'm going to go 7. I think they hit their extra point. 7-55. 7-55. Prague Lions hit their extra point. Don't make a failure of me. Like that extra point's going to matter. Another game that's probably not going to be very pretty, and I don't think a lot of people are going to watch. Stuttgart travels to Barcelona. Bryce?
Oh, boy.
I feel so bad for Barcelona. Oh, God.
Barcelona, they had the forfeit, and then they've been they've fallen apart. It hasn't been a good season for them from the beginning, and you'd like to see them get a good game, not necessarily a win, just like a game to lift their spirits going into the next season. Let's give them 21 points. Let's go 35-21 Stuttgart. And this is just wishful thinking by me. I want this to happen.
Okay.
Hey,
Randy?
I would love to see a good game like that. I think we add the 21 points to Stuttgart. And we say 56-0.
Wow.
62-0.
Oh my goodness, guys. Where's the faith? Where's the faith in the Barcelona?
Look, I love Barcelona. I hope Barcelona is able to score 21 and make this a game. It just is not pretty. Now, as far as now that those 3 games are out of the way, the Thorners and Panthers got intriguing. It got intriguing, and then it didn't get intriguing. So now we have an actual intriguing game. The Centaurans traveling to Madrid.
Mm.
The Colognes are on the Colognes. That's the Centaurans are on a run, right now. And okay, Jamal, real quick before we get to the Centaurans Bravos game, the Enthroners Panthers. All 3 of us picked the Enthroners to beat the Panthers by a good margin. I think the highest point total was 10. The Lions and Vikings. I think the Lions hit their extra point. That's what I'm holding on to. Blowout win for the Vikings. Blowout win for the Surge over the Dragons as well. So we are into the Centaurans and Bravos game for predictions. Bryce, is this game as intriguing as I think it might be?
It is. It is intriguing. I don't think the Centurions will win. I think it will be relatively close. I think the Centurions lose a somewhat close one, 30-40.
Wow, you got some fireworks happening in
in
Madrid.
Oh, yeah. Big fireworks week, for sure.
Randy, what about you?
This game is extremely interesting. This was one of the games that gave Madrid's great defense fits last time. And so it'll be interesting to see. And I felt like Isaiah Weed didn't even play really his best game against Madrid. So if they can put it together, they have a chance here. Yeah. Hennessy plays 1 quarter. Yeah, exactly. Man, this is tough. Give me Madrid 30, Cologne 23.
Oh boy.
So correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't it not Helbig, the quarterback, the first time these 2 played? He was, correct?
What? No, it was
Torrance.
Stephen Duncan. Yeah, Stephen Duncan. It was his first game in Madrid.
Oh,
okay.
Yeah.
This is so hard because the Centaurans' defense is much better than they've played. Isaiah Weed has really found a. Oh, well, Jamal just said they might be without both their running backs this week. Well, he said this season, but give me Madrid. I think that the defense is enough, but I don't know, man. This is going to be a close game. I'm going to say 31-27. I'm not confident about that, but I'll say 31.
I'm not either.
I don't know.
Guys,
Madrid is 10.5-point favorites.
Who was the 10.5-point favorites? Madrid is? I agree, Jamal. I was very close to picking Cologne. I'm not even going to lie. It was very hard not to pick them. I'm not going to lie. So, all right. Game of the week, possibly? The Musketeers traveling to Rhein, Dusseldorf.
Oh, boy.
Which my wife says is a made-up name, by the way, and a made-up place. She's like, that's made-up. That's not real. Dusseldorf. Bryce, I'm more interested to hear Randy's thoughts. No offense, Bryce, just the Paris situation. But what are your thoughts on this, Bryce?
No, I think it's going to be a good game. I think it's going to be a close game. I think it's going to be not as high scoring. I'm going to go 25-21 Ryan.
That's a good score. I like
And
that score.
I think Glenn Tuga is going to dominate as well.
All right. Randy.
So Paris is fun to watch, and their defense is really good. They played a complete game, which is great. But do you feel confident about that offense right now?
No.
I'm just saying, they had, how many points did they score on offense last week? So I don't know. You go against the Rhine Fire, you got to be able to score points. And I don't think that they right now have the firepower on offense to do that. Everything still runs through Zach Edwards as it should. But give me Rhine, and I think they win convincingly. I think they win at home by 2+ scores. I'm going to go Rhine 38, Paris 21.
Oh, okay.
That's very fair. We have, last week, like you said, was their first complete game as a defensive unit. I'd like to see, even though my prediction contradicts what I'm about to say, I'd like to see them do that week in, week out before we start to really put them as title contenders in my eyes.
We've seen Stuttgart do it. We've seen Vienna do it. We've seen Rhine do it now the past however many weeks. Paris, I haven't seen them put together a stretch. And maybe this is the run they're about to go on. But you talk about playing complete football. I just don't know if they've done that yet.
I don't know what the over-under is on this, but I'm taking the under in this game most likely. I think this is going to be a defensive battle, and I think because it's a defensive battle, I think Paris wins. I'm going to be the sole man out on this one. I think Paris beats Rhine. I think they hand Rhine their second loss of the year. It's going to be 26-21. Yeah, 64.5 is the total, and I think it's going to be under that for sure. Look, let's talk about this. Like, Rhine is really, really well, and they're hitting their stride, and it's very dangerous. But we have to remember that it wasn't that way even at the beginning of the year, and it takes just one team to just get under their skin to pull out that play. And I think if any team is going to be able to do it, it's going to be the top defense in the league. And Zach Edwards gives them an opportunity and chance to win this game, even if the offense isn't clicking on all cylinders. So I think Paris wins this game 26-21. I think they're going to disrupt Jadrian. I don't think they'll have the same game plan of being able to rush like they did Stephen Duncan, but I think that you will still see some zero coverage, and they're going to bring the pressure. And I think that if any softness in that offensive line at all, I think Paris can get to Jadrian and maybe make him make some mistakes. So I'm taking Paris in this one. Not confident. I don't think you can be confident either way, except for Randy, because he was the only one that was like 2+ scores. But yeah, I got Paris in this one. So, and maybe Caroline will be on next week to tell me that I did pick Paris and Randy did. So.
We're going on a little cruise, so I won't even be able to watch I will be out of pocket. I'll have to check the scores on Monday.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Boy.
We'll see.
You have to catch the replay.
Yep. I'll have to watch the replay.
We'll be in Nassau.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll see how that goes. If I'm watching the Paris Rhine Fire game while we're on vacation.
I don't know what time zone you'll be in, but that game is at 7 a.m. on East Coast. So
I'll be able to watch it.
That's normally when we're up.
Sweet. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's one of the early games. Milano, quarterback change. I don't still know if that's going to help anything. Travels to Munich to take on the Ravens. Bryce?
It's hard to really give them a chance because, I mean, look, this is a team coming off. You're losing your quarterback. You're coming off a rough stretch as well. It's I'm picking Munich, even though they haven't looked as convincing recently either. I'm picking them 35-7.
The Munich.
Yes, not Milan.
Randy, how about you, man?
I like that scoreline. I'm going to go Munich 37 and Milan 3.
There you go.
Yeah, this is not. This is not a pretty game. This Ravens offense is high powered and has proven that it beats up on some lower teams pretty well.
Well, they made their money this season.
Since you took 6 and Randy took 3, since you took 7 and Randy took 3, I'll take 6. And I'm going to say 52 for Munich. I think it's going to be.
Wow.
It's not going to be pretty. And Jamal, yes, Jamal, and Jamal, you weren't here earlier. Bronk will be back tomorrow night for overtime, so overtime will still be here. He wants to continue it moving forward, so he will still be my co-host. And yeah, so that will be. I don't know if the time is going to change though. I got to figure out what's happening with that. But as of right now, it's still 6 p.m. Eastern. Helvetic travels to Tyrol. Well, not Tyrol. It's Innsbruck. Innsbruck. Innsbruck or Innsbruck?
I think it's Innsbruck, isn't it?
Innsbruck.
Yeah.
Travels to Innsbruck. Bryce, thoughts?
Oh man. Give me T-roll, but give me them 28-14.
Wow. Okay. That would have covered the spread, Jamal. Just so you know.
Yeah.
I don't know what the spread is. I was waiting for it. I knew it was coming. Look, there it is. I knew it was coming. I don't know what the spread is on this one, but there it is. I'm not so confident on that either. Randy, Helvetic and
Jamal is Carlton Aiken playing?
Yeah, that's my question. Like that's what I really.
It's a watchable game if he is. If not, the Raiders win by 3+ scores.
He's
not playing. Helvetic is not going to cover whatever that spread is then, and I'll go Raiders. Go Raiders 30, 35, and Helvetic 10.
35-10. It was traditional score. I like it. I'm not as confident that they even score a touchdown without Carlton. So 33-3. The Raiders. I still haven't been impressed with Ngozi Perry though.
Yeah, that's.
I still haven't seen 4 quarters put together, but
that's surprising to me that we haven't seen that from him yet.
Yeah, I struggled to see that. So, and yes, I agree. Mercenaries defense hasn't been playing well, and that's been the strong point. But without Aiken, that defense is going to be on the field a lot, and I don't see it ending well in a lot of cases. So, yes, I figured that this was going to probably be the case. I had a feeling there was a possibility. I mean, there is a chance that Helvetic will announce one tomorrow, but even if that's the case, you're still talking about a quarterback coming in late, and it's going to be hard. So, Frankfurt and Hamburg. This game got interesting with Matthew McCoy. McCoy, right? And he played well the first half last week, and the second half kind of fell off the rails. And Hamburg is kind of, with a new quarterback with D'Angelo Fulford, looked good at the end of the game last week. But Bryce, what's your thoughts on this one?
I said this in the earlier fixture as well. When these two teams play, it gets me nostalgic. It's like old NFL Europe football, man. And it's Frankfurt has looked good. Well, I say that. They've looked okay. I think that the Hamburg is the one that wins this game, though. I think that with the new quarterback, it helps him out. And I like Fulford as a quarterback as well. I think that despite a bit of a rough showing last week, he's going to turn around and get it done.
What's your score prediction?
Let's go. I think it's gonna be low scoring. I'm gonna go 15-9. I think it'll be a lot of field goals though.
No, all field goals?
Maybe not all field goals. I'm thinking a lot of field goals. Maybe a missed extra PAT in there as well.
Oh, okay. Randy, Frankfurt and Hamburg.
Should be a good game. I'm gonna go Frankfurt though. I'm rocking with McKay. So we're gonna go Frankfurt. So Frankfurt 26, Hamburg 18. Keep it a one-score game, but a weird scoring affair.
Yeah, I
Let's go,
have
Michael.
I have a 1-point game. Actually, I always try to catch these 1-point games if I can. Frankfurt wins 25-24. Matthew McKay, I really like what I've seen with him. I think Hamburg plays a little bit. I think matches up with Frankfurt in Frankfurt's favor a little bit. D'Angelo Fulford is looked good for Hamburg last week, and I just think that these teams are fairly evenly matched. And Jamal mentioned it by saying he's going for the tie. So yeah, I mean, I think this should be a good game. This is one of those games that could end up being game of the week just based upon score wise. And it's also one of those games that could end up being a 9-15 game like Bryce is predicting. So you never know what you're going to get with them by any means. So so now that I have actually written those down this week, considering I didn't do them the last few weeks, I'll have them for tomorrow for overtime, so I'm not bouncing all over the place. And Jamal's like, hey, that's not what you said yesterday. Bryce, do you have any shout-outs or anything else you want to talk about real quick before we sign off here?
Oh, man. Malik Stanley keeps showing out in the ELF. I did some work with him. I'm proud of him, of the work he's doing. I've got stuff coming out soon. I got AFL highlights coming out soon, IFL highlights, ELF highlights, obviously. That'll be a little bit later. That's pretty much it, man.
Yeah, sounds good. Randy, how about you? You got the floor for a little bit here, man.
Yeah, I appreciate you putting up with my tardiness today and having me back on. I think.
How dare you be tardy?
I know, right? I know. I was on Bryce time today.
says the guy who'd rather hang out at Chili's.
Hey, man. Chili's is pretty fire. Chili's is fun.
Chili's is fun.
Chili's is fun.
Yeah,
they are not a sponsor, but hey, Chili's, hit us up.
Oh, what if we did this show at Chili's?
Oh
You
yeah,
know?
see, that's what I'm saying.
Hey, Sam suggested it.
Yeah.
Live at Chili's.
Live at Chili's, yeah.
Live at Chili's. Summer Soap Showcase live at Chili's.
Yeah, see?
Has a nice ring to it.
There you go.
No, go check out my wife, CK Customs. Get your game day gear for the fall here coming up.
Yeah.
She just got who did you? Mac Jones' girlfriend just ordered some stuff, so
Snap!
Getting some gear going for the NFL players. So it's good for the NFL players' wives. It's good enough for you guys, right? So that's my plug for today.
I'm not sure how I would look in CK Customs gear, but I mean, if it's good for Mac Jones's wife, I'll rock it. I'll see if I can make it work.
Heck yeah, bro. I'll strip my stuff.
Yeah,
She said she'll make one that says Summer Showcase, rhinestone, blue and pink for you.
Oh, absolutely. Hey, rock it out. I mean, real men wear pink, damn it. I'll rock it out. I have no shame. I don't get embarrassed. I don't think you guys realize that with me. Jamal, how about you? You got any shout outs real quick? While you're sitting there contemplating it or typing it out, I'll do mine real quick. So obviously, Summer Showcase overtime is going to continue with Zach Bronkhorst. It will be on tomorrow night. We still have the Summer Showcase for the CFL up there, the Northern Lights show. That's a little bit later on the East Coast, but you can always catch the replay, obviously, on Shady Sports Network. Shout out to Sam, because I told him I would always shout him out, as well, for giving us a platform to talk football, because I tell you what, I absolutely fucking love it. Pardon the language, but it's just I'm passionate about football and I love it. So I appreciate him giving the platform. Shout out to Jamal, of course. Athletes Forum. Go follow him. Make sure you're paying attention to what he's doing.
Missed you too, Jamal.
He's bringing and Brandon, enjoy your cruise for sure. Hit up the Athletes Forum though. Jamal's got great content. He does a great show about the ELF, trying to bring awareness to European football overseas, bring some eyes on it for sure. Yeah, I'll see you tomorrow too, Jamal. Have a good night, my man. Thank you for joining in as well. Sam, again, thank you. Make sure you hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit the little dingy so you get the notifications that when we're here as well. And I don't think I have anything else. So my fantasy football show has not been around for the last couple of weeks. It's off season, so it's a little bit harder, but that's on Thursday nights as well. I don't have any businesses to plug, so hit up ckcustoms.com again. Support Randy's wife for sure, because she does some good work over there as well. And hit up Pylon Productions for Bryce, and make sure that if you're a free agent out there and need some highlights thrown together, he's your man for sure. So
Absolutely.
That's going to do it for us tonight. The show went a little bit longer than normal, but hey, you know what? That means more football talk, so I'm game. Until next week, have a good night.